Okay, so this is an introduction for new or veteran mission makers to get you jump started in making missions for our community. I'm trying to make this as easy as possible, and in order to do that, I've created a sample mission, which you can see right here. I'm in right now, and it contains a lot of um, ease of use features, or I'd like to think of them as such, to help you guys just get started quickly, slap units down and play, um, or tell whatever story you want to tell. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into the editor, um, or I should probably say before that, you're going to download this map. I'm going to put it up somewhere. There will be a link on the forums to where this map is, as well as all of its extra Eden editor assets. And that'll just be a simple download. I'll show you where to throw it in. You'll open this map and we'll go over the settings. So once you've got this map open, first thing you want to do is go into attributes, click on multiplayer, and this is for any multiplayer mission. I usually leave the game type as undefined, and I don't set the min and max players. There's no advantage to doing this. However, the disadvantages are that Arma likes to, you know, fuck things up based on some integer not matching somewhere or some stupid crap like that. So for type, I just leave all this stuff alone. Lobby and summary. I'll click, I'll uncheck the box enable AI. I'll leave auto assign slots unchecked. In the respawn category, I'm going to select from the drop down box and I'm going to select respawn on custom position. And then I'm going to scroll down here. I'm going to show or enable the select respawn position and the show respawn counter. For respawn delay, 10 seconds, 3 seconds is fine. I think it gets overridden in a file that will be stored with this mission anyway. Show scoreboard, I usually untick that. There's no reason for that. Allow menu respawn. You want to always leave this enabled in case players get bugged, because the last thing you want is somebody stuck in a hole and then they can't get out of there. That's fucked. Save loadout, don't worry about this, because we have another better way of handling it. The BIS function to do that, the Bohemia Interactive Solutions function to do that sucks. It doesn't actually work the way that it should. This revive, it's imperative that revive mode is disabled because we play with ACE and it overrides that system. Everything else under like groups, dynamic AI settings, you can see I don't have any of this enabled or running. So I'm gonna hit OK. And then I believe that's it for the in editor settings. So like I said, you're gonna download this map. All this stuff is gonna be set up for you. So actually when you download this map and you go to multiplayer, all that stuff should already be defined and ready for you. Things that exist on this map already are a basic FOB, which you can modify to your heart's content. The correct lobby loadout, as well as unit loadouts per role or rating, as well as a aerial respawn vehicle and a ground vehicle respawn vehicle, which you can of course change. Um, when you do change those, though, you're going to want to sync whatever vehicle you replace this with. So I can right click here and I can go to attributes and I can go to object type and I can change the vehicle if I want to through here, or I can plop down some other vehicle. Who cares what it is? And I can delete this guy and I can click sync to, and now this vehicle will respawn, and when it respawns it's going to run this script that makes it a respawn vehicle. So That is an important aspect that we'll discuss when we go out of the editor. I'm just going to undo that so that I don't send you guys a borked copy of this. All right. Also, what's included is Ace Arsenals with all the code that you need. Sure, to some of you, this doesn't look as standard as you've seen. This is the familiar line. This is what enables uh, the box. This is an optional line that we'll talk about outside a game. And this is a little script that I created that takes the place of the BIS store kit. Because what BIS likes to do is when you die, they save your kit. And then when you respawn, you get that loaded kit. So if you had used half of your debt charges and you die, you don't respawn with the kit that you had saved that had all of your debt charges. You know, maybe you had 4 and you used 2 of them. When you respawn, you're going to respawn with those 2, whatever you died with. That's how Bohemia handles it. I'm handling it as when you use this action in game, when you select the store kit at the arsenal, that's the kit. All of that stuff is what you will respawn with. So I can show you how that works as well. So that's it for in-game. You just need to load this map up. What I would suggest is you select all of this stuff, right click on it, right click on it, click on Save Custom Composition, and save it somewhere like, if I select a category and I go up to the top in A1 roads, because I'm probably never going to use A1 roads, and I type something in like 56 RD, I don't know, FOB. Now anytime I go to create a map, I have all these cool systems in place and enabled. In order to utilize all those systems, all I have to do is go over here to F2 compositions, custom compositions. Under A1 roads, I see I've got this whole shebang here, and that includes everything you need. Okay, so that's it for in-game. Let's go out of game and talk about customizing your mission. All right, so I'm out of game. I'm in the missions folder. You're going to see we have some pictures in here. The signal plan, it's automatically embedded into your map. You don't have to worry about that right now. The flag, whether or not you want to, show your colors, it's up to you. That being said, here's the description.ext file. This file is going to, well, before I get into this, I'm going to talk about editing scripts, and I'm not going to go too deep into it. I'm just going to show you the software that I use because it's super easy, and I'll provide a link for that as well. So I use Poseidon, which is Sublime tools for basically for Arma. So it has all of the syntax that you need for editing scripts in Arma. So I'm going to open this file, and you're going to see there's like colored text and shit, and stuff in quotes is grayed out. So this is a string. It's not a command. It doesn't tell anybody to do anything. It's just what it's looking for. So when the mission loads, it's saying, oh, the overview picture is this flag.jpg, and if I go into my folder, oh, there's a file name that is exactly the same as that. Isn't that weird? What that means is it's gonna, when it loads the mission, it's gonna slap that JPEG over on the preview screen, so you're gonna see whatever you name this to, it's going to look for that .jpeg in the mission directory, and it's going to load that picture. You want to try and keep those kind of small because obviously you don't want to load 5 megabytes of a picture for a 500 KB mission. That'd be silly. Other things in this file are respawn on start as -1. What that means is that when the mission starts, everybody loads into that soldier that was actually placed on the map rather than respawning as a fresh new soldier. So what that means is basically you don't see the respawn screen on your first spawn. It's just an option. I found the best way to control that is using this file. I find a lot of the time if I don't use this file with this option set up this way, players respawn dead, and that adds a lot of confusion. When they start the mission dead, they're like, what the fuck is going on? So we want to avoid that. Respawn base means that it's going to look for a marker with a particular name. For our case, that is the marker we saw, respawn underscore west. So it's looking for this name, and it's going to say, okay, that's where the players are allowed to respawn at. Or any marker that is acceptably named. There's a bunch of different naming conventions you can use. So basically, it's just looking for a marker that satisfies a naming convention. Respawn delay, we saw that in the editor. I'm pretty sure the description.ext overrides that. And that's again why I use this, because then I can just paste this into a ton of different mission files and everything's exactly the same. I don't have to worry about all of the stupid Eden editor options that always default to what I don't want them to be. Respawn dialog, again, we talked about that in game. Again, this just sets it to exactly what I want it to be. These are some pretty self-explanatory options. You'll see in game what these all correspond to when you load your map, so you can change them to, various things, like maybe have some little synopsis down here or something like that, or even a different picture here if you want. Um, so that's it for that file. That's basically controlling the settings in the mission. The init, you don't really want to mess with anything in here. This is just having the worthless headless stuff set up. This whole bunch of garbage here is just a little bit of redundancy. It's just an extra ignore function for the worthless headless module, because a lot of the time when you're Zeusing and you tell a unit to do something, if the headless client is taking over that unit, it'll ignore you and it'll just go off and do whatever the hell it wants to do, and you'll just be like, fuck, why is this rocket helo strafing my guys when I told it not to do that? Well, that's because the worthless headless module doesn't give a fuck. And by adding the vehicle's name into this array, that allows us to tell the headless module to ignore it, so that you as the Zeus have control over it. This down at the bottom is going to do something that I just started to put in here, which is to load some default loadouts, so you don't have to tediously go in through the arsenal and every time you want to make a mission, add the default loadouts to the ACE arsenal. This is just going to grab them from a file that's already predefined and throw them in there for you. So that's like the big thing about a lot of these files in here, is just making all those little tiny little things that you'd have to worry about just automatic, so that they don't trip you up. So down here in its server, this is just a little bit of redundancy for the multiplayer server. You can see that it's running the same command as the init down here. So what that does for us is that this could also be hosted locally, or it could be hosted on the dedicated server. And in both instances, it's going to run this loadout script. So let's, I guess, look at the loadouts. So in the loadouts, this is not something that I put together. I had somebody's help creating a script that grabs all this stuff, and I'll show you how to do that at the end of this tutorial. So this is an array. It defines all the loadouts. We can see the name of a loadout, all of the stuff that's in it, and if I scroll down, there's a bunch of them here, and blah, 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 and that's great. At the end of the video, I'll talk about this little guy. This is a list that sets what is allowed by the arsenal. So if we want to lock the arsenal down, you can do that. You don't want to edit this list manually. You want to have it generated, and I'll talk about that later. So let's see, this is your mission file. You don't want to really screw with this. This is going to be generated. Basically, what I would suggest you to do is you go into the editor, you know, create a new file, you plop down all this FOB stuff, you save it as some unique name, you tab out a game, you copy all this stuff, everything except for the mission file. So I'd hold shift, select everything, and then hold control and click on the mission, and then right click and hit copy. And then I would go into my MP missions folder and I would look for another mission or whatever mission I'm working on, and I just paste it in here, and it's going to say, oh my god, all this shit's the same. I'm going to replace it. And now this mission and the mission that I'm currently showing you guys have exactly the same loadouts, parameters, play settings, etc. All right, so all right, so on player killed. There's nothing in here. This is kind of like reserve space for in the future. Nothing's really going on there. On player respawn. On player respawn, this directly correlates with your arsenal. This is part of the save my kit, store my kit. So when you save my kit, when you click save my kit on the arsenal in game, it's going to take all your stuff and it's going to put them in this private variable that is stored on your machine. And then when you respawn, it's going to load that variable. So that's just the simplicity of how that works. This is the actual worthless headless client script that's running every like 10 seconds to grab AI units and throw them on the onto the headless client. None of this is anything that we write. This is all provided by the mod author. You don't want to edit stuff in here. It's not anything you want to go traipsing around in. Mobile respawn. This is a BIS function that takes whatever it's talking about and creates it as a respawn position. It could be a bush, it could be a rifle, it could be a guy, it could be a vehicle. In our case, it's a vehicle. So what this script is doing is, if we go into game, we open up this vehicle respawn module here. We see code executed when the vehicle respawns. execvm mobile respawn.sqf. execvm tells it to run a script, and this is the script that it's going to run. So when this vehicle gets blown up and it respawns, it runs this script, and this script tells it to clear all the vehicle cargo, clear all the weapons and the magazines in the cargo, and then to take that vehicle and make it a new respawn position. So having this option is great because you can always delete it. If you don't want mobile respawns, you can always delete this stuff. When you're in the game, when you're actually in game and you're Zeusing, when you delete these vehicles, it totally works. They're no longer respawn vehicles. They no longer respawn. But if you do want them in the mission, they're there. Same thing with these protection zones. When you are in the mission as Zeus, you can delete them if you want. So they're kind of, you know, up to they're left to your option. It's important that you have this hide terrain objects volume box, because what that enables you to do is basically slap all this stuff anywhere, and if there's a tree or a rock, it gets rid of it. So you want to have a vehicle spawning on a rock. So that's it for the Eden editor, and that's it for this whole tutorial.